Alright folks, welcome to the TheIntelFrog Report. It's Monday, December 26th, 2022. We'll start off over here in ADSB Exchange as always. Not a lot going on today. Or not much of anything. Still on holiday routine for most of the military. I think they come back on Tuesday. So as you can see, there's only 12 aircraft up at the moment, and looks like a third of them are Coast Guard aircraft. A couple of Reach C-17s, and then we got a KC-135 out of Fairchild, and a little C-37B out of Washington, going into, well, looks like San Francisco area. Yeah. Here's a look at all the LAD aircraft active, 851 up, which is a bit higher than usual. Anywhere from 6 to 700 seems to be the usual. LAD aircraft are the Limiting Aircraft Data Displayed program from the FAA. That's what is responsible for seeing an aircraft as blocked on Flight Radar 24, FlightAware, Radar Box, the other flight tracking websites. But due to ADSB Exchange's servers or system, they use independent feeders that don't have to use FAA data to decode. That's why there is no to or from information on the flight. You just see the flight information itself for the aircraft. Take a look over at Europe. Same story, not a lot going on over here. We've got a KC-135 coming back from a combat air patrol over Romania. He's returning to Spangladem. And we got a C-17, looks like out of Ankara. I'm sorry, not Ankara. Yeah, not even going to try to pronounce that. With C-17, Russians have one of their Tu-154s up. It's a VIP transport, I think. I'm not real schooled on that. And then we got a helo over Belgium. Let's take a look at special use airspace and active military operational areas. Not a lot going on today with the holiday, obviously. We got some active areas in California, Nevada, New Mexico, right here on the Arizona border. A little down here in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. There are a couple of interesting TFRs out there. Let's see if I can find them again. I think this one here in Kansas, yeah, for an oil leak. Active from the surface to 2,000 feet. Then there's this one here, just northwest of Denver, for blasting operations. I didn't really see much else of interest. This one here is Beale. That's a TFR that's always there. I think this one's for the Aggies Stadium, New Mexico. Yeah. Aggies football versus the Bowling Green Falcons, December 26th at 2:30 Mountain Time. These white circles are all drone operations. Didn't see this one before. What's that? Oh, SpaceX. Okay. Surface 2,000 feet. This one's for the Indianapolis Colts game later. Explosive device cleanup here in Massachusetts. Surface to 2,500 feet. Looks like it's valid from November 7th until March 10th, so they've got quite a bit of explosives to clean up, it seems. This is the normal one that's over DC. There's nothing special with that one. And I think that's it. The one right here, Grand Forks Air Force Base, TFR, NOTAM. NOTAM boxes here are all pretty standard. 565 aircraft in the log going to Ukraine. Going to Poland. U.S. supplies, munitions, and aid. So we're up to 565 flights now. This began 10 months ago, 11 months ago on the 21st of January was the first flight logged from Travis Air Force Base into Kiev. Look at the Fleet Marine Tracker for the U.S. Navy. We got the Abe Lincoln off the west coast of California. The George H.W. Bush is in the Adriatic Sea. We've got the USS America, Amphibious Readiness Group, ARG, or Amphibious Exercise Group. Forget which one. And then there's the Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group, Nimitz Carrier Strike Group out in the middle of the Pacific, and the Makin Island Amphibious Readiness Group as well. For headlines, Air Force news. A person was shot trying to enter Shaw Air Force Base on Friday. Not a lot of details, but base spokesperson said that on Friday afternoon, around 1:30 p.m., a person tried to illegally gain access to Shaw. Likely probably tried to come in one of the gates and then ran the gate, and they popped the barriers, and they were injured in the crash with the barriers, is my guess. Either that or they were shot. It could be both. Usually those barriers are pretty unforgiving. Army news, the industry readies for a key U.S. Army Bradley replacement decision. So this is an artist rendering of the replacement for the Bradley, which this is what the Bradley fighting vehicle looks like. It went in service in 1981. The Army's looking for a design to replace it. We're already, now remember that the federal government operates for spending purposes, budget purposes, on a fiscal year of October 1st to September 30th. So we're already well into fiscal year 2023 here. Service is set to move into a detailed design and prototyping phases in April of 2023, so here in a couple of months, for the optionally manned fighting vehicle. And this is an artist rendering of what that could look like. This is just from one of 5 companies that has been invited to partake in the design. They're in the design phase right now. Initial design. There's 4 more phases. That this program's ultimately going to be a $45 billion effort, which is a hefty contract, and it's set to be fielded in beginning fiscal year 2030. U.S. Coast Guard offloads 6 tons of cocaine in Port Everglades after a Caribbean patrol. That's worth $175 million. Wholesale street prices. This is actually less than what Cutter Forward accumulated over the span of her Caribbean patrol. She had about 18,500 pounds of cocaine worth nearly 250 million sitting on deck. She transferred 4,400 pounds to the cutter Campbell and another 1,600 pounds to the U.S. DEA while she was deployed. So well done to the Coast Guard, keeping some of that nasty stuff from hitting our streets. Sikh men can serve in the Marine Corps without shaving their beards. They also have to be allowed to wear their turbans. The Marine Corps was the last service that was a holdout on not allowing these men to serve. And I think if they want to serve, if their religious beliefs say they get a beard, they need to wear a beard. It's a thorny road to plow there, thorny row. The reason that, at least the reason that I was taught in the Marine Corps, why you don't have beards or long hair, so that in close combat the enemy can't grab a hold of anything. That's why most Marines keep their hair very short. You notice generally every week they're getting a haircut. They're always clean shaven, and that's the reason. At least that's what I was told. Navy news: fire broke out on the USS Carney here in Mayport, Florida. They haven't released a lot of details, but they said that 6 sailors were taken to an area hospital for smoke inhalation. The fire happened about 3:43 a.m. on Friday. So you do the math on that. The fire happened overnight. It was a Class A fire, which is Class A is ordinary combustibles, like you'll find wood, paper, cardboard, things along those lines. So it was a Class A fire, 3:43 a.m. on a Friday, and very likelihood that the contractors were on board is very little at that hour. So I would say this is probably going to be investigated as a suspicious fire. It wouldn't surprise me at all to say that. So we'll see what the Navy investigation comes out with in a few months. They did call for mutual aid from the city of Jacksonville for a rescue, an ambulance, and then DoD fire, ship's crew, as well as crews from the USS Mason extinguished the fire, de-smoked the ship, and dewatered the spaces. Space Force news: Congress adds $1.7 billion for U.S. Space Force in 2023. Now, remember that the Space Force, we talked last week about how they want to partner with private industry to become more responsive and launch missions on a much quicker basis. I think they're in planning for their first launch as an organic launch from the Space Force. They're in the planning phase, and it's not due to take off until 2024. So that's such a long time, long planning time. That's not really responsive if, say, we end up in a high-end conflict with Russia or China and they start knocking out our satellites. We can't afford to wait 2 years, 3 years to replenish those satellites. So part of this 1.7 billion is for that program to not reinforce, but to bolster their program, and so that they can start contracting with private entities for some launches and become responsive, as they like to put it. Maritime news: we found out from our friend of the show, Sal Mercogliano, from What's Going On with Shipping, here locally at the Port of Brunswick on St. Simon Sound. The motor vessel Treasure, it's a Liberian flag car carrier, lost power and grounded. Fortunately, had a couple of tugs with her, and they were able to get her ungrounded, and she anchored in the channel. I did notice this morning that it's offshore, so it looks like it's regained power and is back on its way again, no longer in the channel. Let's see, get my, there we go. That's what she looks like. She's a they call her row car carrier, roll on, roll off car carrier. Carries cars, heavy equipment, pickup trucks, things along those lines, tractors, bulldozers, that kind of thing. Port of Savannah is transforming into a container-only operation. They have been extremely busy the last several months. We've showed a couple of times their backlog. Sorry, I couldn't find the word there. But the backlog of almost, I think the high was 40 some vessels. Trying to go back to that right now. Let's just type it in and go back. They're down to just several vessels now, less than 10. We'll go up here to Savannah. Yeah, looks like they got around a dozen vessels now. That's not untypical with the holiday weekend. Probably didn't bring any vessels in over the weekend, but they're at a more manageable number now. So they're transforming into a cargo-only port. There's basically two streams that you can have in the port business. There's cargo container ports. I'm sorry, container cargo ports is what they're going to. Container only. And then there's what they call break bulk, which is loose items. It could be anything from gravel and grain up to transformers and reactor vessels for industry that are oftentimes imported from Europe. So the Savannah Port of Savannah will no longer be a break bulk port. They're going to go to all container operations expected in 2026. It'll be able to serve after the renovations, it'll be able to serve two of the Neo-Panamax vessels simultaneously and raise its capacity to 1.5 million 20-foot equivalent units, TEUs. Ports of LA and Long Beach NV for cargo containers. So what happened here, they never actually implemented this fee. I saw this from Sal Mercogliano, what's going on with shipping, and I thought it was pretty interesting. They instituted a fee back in January, back last year, in the cargo or in the container port, issued this fee because containers were dwelling on deck for too long. They had containers that were sitting there not being transported out of the port, and it was bottlenecking the port. So they decided to institute a fee that would charge owners and operators for containers sitting on the port property longer than several days. I forget what the actual dwell time was, but it was a sliding scale fee. However, the fee never went into effect because of COVID and pushback from the industry, pushback from their operators, and other issues. They never actually implemented the fee, so they just got around to actually formally repealing the fee that they never implemented in the first place. We'll take a look over at the Port of LA and Long Beach real quick. They don't have a whole lot out here waiting on them, but they've got several. Looks like the port is pretty full today. Probably got several of these vessels in after a long weekend. Port of Houston records the fourth busiest month ever. This reflected an 11% year-on-year increase from November 2021. 70,000 combined transactions the week before Thanksgiving saw the most truck transactions ever. Like we noted before, the reason for this is because shippers diverted cargo to East Coast ports when we had 100 vessels sitting off the Port of LA and Long Beach last year. They started diverting them to East Coast ports, and the Port of Houston is the largest, furthest west port that they could route their stuff to so that they could still make it to market in California, Nevada, and the rest of the Southwest. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Short report because there was not a lot going on, but hopefully you like the show. If you do, make sure to hit that like and subscribe so that you're notified when new videos are out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.